Darkwing Duck is back. That's right. The Daring Duck of Mystery is starring in three brand new collected editions, courtesy of Dynamite Entertainment. From his debut limited series from 1991 all the way to this year's Justice Ducks, this Kickstarter campaign is bringing you all the mallard you can handle, with offerings to fit every price point. To back the campaign and secure your copies, visit comicsaredope.com/darkwing. That's comicsaredope.com/darkwing. Now let's start the show. You guys know I really enjoy this one aspect of the job, which is reading comics, reviewing them, and putting you guys onto stories and creators that you may not have known about otherwise. And today we have one such interview. So today I'm talking to Chris O'Hara. Chris O'Hara is the founder of BentBox Comics. He is a comic writer, and perhaps most notably, the writer of a book called Artificial, which you can grab on Kickstarter right now. Issue 1 is already out, and now there's a Kickstarter live for you to get caught up and grab issues 1 and 2. It's a sci-fi adventure with amazing art, but don't take my word for it. Here is Chris O'Hara. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate the intro.
Oh, it's no problem at all, man. Thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to do this. So I like to start all these conversations off just at the beginning, right? Like, what got you into comics? What made you a fan? And what made you crazy enough to want to make them yourself?
Yeah, yeah, crazy is definitely it. My a quick run over my background is my father used to actually ink for Marvel way back in the day. And I've been like kind of just surrounded by comics since I was a young kid. He was a collector. He had, all of those cardboard boxes in a walk-in closet, which used to be used for clothes.
Mhm.
Not anymore. It's just to the ceiling with comic books. So I've always been around them. Always, when I was young, that was like my first introduction into reading was comic books.
Mhm.
Um, I remember when I was a really little kid, he did a full mural on the side of my wall. So like this whole wall behind me, minus
Mhm.
the window, obviously, but of Spider-Man and all of his villains. Not all of his villains, but like, Venom and Doc Ock and all of them there. And it was in Green Goblin. It was just awesome. He was on one side swinging into the fray.
Wow.
And it was done by a Marvel comic book artist, technically.
Mhm.
So it was really cool. So yeah, I've always been interested in comics and it's been part of my life. That said, I actually ended up, my father ended up bailing on our family when I was around 8. So, tale as old as time, it happens.
Mhm.
I just kind of dropped everything that was kind of related to him, which
Mhm.
kind of just happens. So I stopped reading comics, stopped collecting comics. Uh, but I've always been, I think I inherited his creativity. I've always been a creative,
Mhm.
like a storyteller. I've always wanted to just make something.
Yeah.
So, um, fast forward like 25 years later, my good friend John Shell, which some people, if you've watched other interviews with me, you've heard me talk about him before, but he's my business partner in BentBox Comics. He's kind of the co-founder. He created something called The Last Wand, and that was his very first introduction into comics as well.
Mhm.
I saw him do it, and it kind of, it sparks that flame of just like, oh, I remember comics and just what it means to tell a story, and then it's not easy, but it
Mhm.
is a medium that is kind of easy to put, ideas on paper and be able
Mhm.
to visualize it, much easier than like movies or video games or something like that you want to create. So I basically said, I think I might be crazy enough to
Mhm.
try it. And then yeah, I went on the hunt. I wrote an idea that I had down, basically knocked out a whole comic, the issue 1 in a day, I think. I just like kind of just vomited out of me on
Mhm.
paper, and then ended up finding an insanely talented artist. He is the only reason Artificial is what it is so far. I want to give him as much props as I can, and we can talk about him later. But Gabriel Fonseca,
Mhm.
um, and that's how we've kind of come to this point, is just a marriage made in heaven. So, yeah.
Nice. So I want to talk about the story of Artificial. But first, so you had a relationship with comics, right? You kind of broke up and you came back to it later. But when you decided you wanted to write comics, were there resources that you sought out? Like, did you have maybe experience doing like screenwriting, or how do you learn to write your first script?
Yeah, so I've done screenwriting before. Not obviously professionally. But dabbled in it. My wife is actually a creative writer. She went to school. She has her bachelor's in creative writing. She teaches at a school right now.
Mm,
So even we were kind of shooting ideas off each other, and she would kind of give me an idea of how a script should be written for like screenwriting. That is very similar, but still different than comics. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I kind of took my familiarity with screenwriting and just co-opted it to comics. And I personally feel like it made issue one flow very easily because it felt natural.
mm,
Now, I have definitely compared my script to other people's scripts who have written comics before. It's
mm,
not the same. It's a little different, a little quirky. But a lot of the like descriptives that I put in there are very like camera based.
mm,
It's like view from perspective of, it's like screenwriting. And that's how I wrote Artificial. So I will say that, and I've had this mentioned to me a couple of times, it was slightly intended, but not 100%, that they said that the flow of Artificial seems more cinematic
mm.
in how the panels read. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's good. That's what I was aiming for per se, but it was also just what I'm or I have more familiarity with is screenwriting. So yeah, it came pretty natural. It's definitely not the traditional way of writing comics. So I hope that no one ever gets a hold of one of my scripts. It would be scrutinized to no end, I'm sure. But that's how I do it.
Nice. Yeah, no, it just, I mean, even just looking at it, right? Like just it does read very cinematic. Like there's establishing shots, but then there's like you crop in tight, like and focus
Yeah.
on certain, like it's dope. There's a
Sweet.
few, I don't know, there's a few artists where it's like you can tell they watch a lot of film, right? Or they
hmm
have that in mind. What's funny is like John Romita Jr. is great for that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like, and say what you want about his figure drawing, but like just the composition itself, the storytelling on the page, like very cinematic. It's
hmm
like every panel is deliberate and
Right.
looks good. Looks
Yeah.
good. So yeah, no, I really like the cinematic approach to your storytelling as well. So are there writers or types of stories that have influenced you? What would you say they were?
So once again, it's just because I got away from comics so early on that I don't have a ton of ties to it. So a lot
Mm,
of it is movies, cinema is my biggest influence. Some of my favorite directors, obviously I like Tarantino, I like Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's probably my favorite to be honest, but it's just because his style is just so balls to the wall, just stupid fun, and I just love
mm,
it. I actually was talking to my partner John recently. I'm like, I want to write a comic in the style of Guy Ritchie. I don't know what that
mm,
means yet, but I'm gonna do it. So like we were like, pitching ideas for it, but that was a lot of fun. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of it. Like Tarantino, I love his style of dialogue.
mm,
Um, a lot of the thing that impresses me the most with his movies is like if you're sitting there watching a scene where they're talking, even though sometimes it's over the top and kind of ridiculous, and it's like this isn't realistic. It's very stylized,
mm,
you know. At the same time, though, the dialogue that's happening between all the characters feels very grounded. Like if I was
mm,
sitting at a table with a bunch of my buddies, it would probably be similar cadence. It would be a
yeah.
similar like back and forth quip and then silly line and then and then we're kind of just rabbit trailing for a minute. It has nothing to do with the plot at all. And
Mm,
most directors and most writers wouldn't allow that. Like a Scorsese, there's no way he would allow that. It would be back to script. Scorsese hates improv. I love improv in movies. So anyway, that's kind of my inspiration is primarily cinema,
mm,
which means I have no option but make it somewhat cinematic, or at least take a little bit from some of these people that I enjoy watching their movies.
Okay, so let's talk artificial because
Yeah.
you're one of the rare ones who you come up with one idea and then you fund that idea and publish that idea, right? So
Yeah.
what was it about the story of artificial that you felt needed to be told?
So, I have a, Google Doc filled with thousands
Mm,
of either one word titles or little, like, with like a parentheses around that says needs fleshing out. Like, I just have that, and I'm sure most creatives do. That said, when I wanted to write my first comic, this one felt the most fresh, and it also felt timely.
mm,
Um, Primarily because it it doesn't directly yet deal with like the idea of AI art, but that was
mhm,
kind of the catalyst for coming up with the story. Is that, with AI art becoming so, prominent and people using it, and I've had a conversation with multiple people. Like, I'm slightly, you know, on the fence with AI art as a
mhm,
whole, but I definitely know the pitfalls of it, and I saw it as an opportunity to imagine a post-apocalyptic future where AI has run rampant.
mhm.
I'm sure you've never heard of this premise ever before, but then the twist being, okay, how do we get back to humanity? How does humanity kind of persevere through the suit and tie, the lack of color, AI that would
Mhm.
be the future. And I decided to put a fish out of water situation tale of Vincent van Gogh being teleported to the future to battle against our future AI overlords, is kind of the tagline.
Mhm.
Um, I picked Van Gogh because I love Van Gogh. I've always been a big fan of him. He re-popped into my head with that Doctor Who episode many, many years ago, which I think was a cultural moment for a lot of people, being reminded of Vincent Van Gogh. So with that having the same tragic ending as, we weren't hoping for it, but another goal of mine is allowing him to maybe have you know, an arc that ends just a happy ending.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it will be because I haven't finished writing it yet.
right.
I have my beginning, middle, and end all plotted out, but
Mhm.
things change. But that's kind of the reason behind starting with artificial was it felt timely. The story just kind of flowed. I had a lot of fun writing the characters, and then once again, I found an artist who matched the art style perfectly to the point where I'm like, this is the project we're doing.
Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, AI art is interesting. It's an interesting conversation, right? I think it's weird. Like I'm in two spaces. So before comics are dope, I had a whole life as a freelance marketer
Mm,
for musicians as well as small businesses. So like when AI art got good enough to like actually like show off, the
yeah.
music industry kind of like seized on it. And not just the art portion, like visually, but there's AI musicians and like you can,
Some of my favorite songs recently have been AI songs. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to admit that publicly, but you scroll through TikTok and you find some stupid AI song where it's like, country mixed with Chick-fil-A or something.
yeah,
But the fact that it does it so well,
yeah,
slightly scary.
yeah,
But to your point, it's crazy how far it's come.
right. One of my favorite, one of my favorite things is when they do like the AI voice cloning. And so
Yeah.
it's like the Pokemon theme song, but it's Kanye.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just stupid stuff
It's
that,
fun. See, that's when I said I'm on the fence, because there are some people in the community, and maybe I'll have people not be happy with me saying this, but there are some people in the community where obviously AI art's the devil. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Don't talk about it. No AI art. It's unspeakable. It's like
yeah,
Voldemort. Voldemort. And I get it, but I have seen some funny, I've my friends have used AI art to like transform one of my friends into an Amish superhero because he looks kind of Amish. And then we obviously, you share the pics between the text group, and it's
right,
hilarious.
right.
And I don't mind that. Like, just for kicks and giggles, I like it. those it's almost like meme posting. It's like, yeah, you use AI for meme posting. That's fine.
Right.
I don't mind it as much, but I do get it when you extrapolate it a bit, I
Yeah.
understand the uproar on it for sure.
Yeah. I think there's always going to be like a sort of a question of the ethics in
Hmm.
relation to technology, right?
Yeah.
Like, because pirates exist, do we ban VCRs or CD burners? Like,
What are
I don't
those? You
know.
might have to explain those to some of our younger audience.
Do we ban? Dang, they don't even have iPods anymore.
No, I
Yeah,
know. I was thinking
dinosaurs.
about this other day. The other day, I was like, I feel like just an ancient old man. Yeah,
Yeah,
fossil.
right. But no, the point just being the rise of home recording. When home
Hmm.
recording technology got good enough that like everyone had a VCR, everybody could
Yeah.
record their favorite shows onto a tape and just completely circumvent the TV system, right?
Yep.
The entertainment industry was in an uproar. Like, we're gonna lose all our money, they're gonna steal all of our content, and so on and so forth. And I think with AI, it's the same thing happening, but I don't think there's so much like the sky is falling. Like, I don't think it's such a false the sky is falling. I do think there are
Yeah.
real ethical questions that need to be answered about like, okay, well, how are we training these tools? And
Yeah.
is it right that I can go into whatever, you know, Dolly or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
the
Dolly.
newest
Yep.
one,
Dolly.
right?
Hmm.
And so, and like I'll type, all right, I want a Batman in the style of Jim Lee. And now my Batman comic looks like Jim Lee drew it, but Jim Lee didn't get any money for it, nor was he paid by the AI company to be able to have
Yeah.
his stuff, his art trained on it, like, so
Yeah.
definitely questions about it. But to the point that you've raised and that, you address in this book, the real issue with AI isn't that it exists, it's that it's not human, right? And it creates like just the idea of the word art is like it's created by humans and it's an
Yeah.
expression, right? And so if the
Hmm.
machine is creating so-called art, it's soulless, like kind of just by definition. And what does a world look like where everything that we get is just a machine's version of things that we got before?
Hmm. Exactly.
So with that, the story of Artificial is like you said, is Vincent Van Gogh being transported into the future. And AI art is a thing, but just in general, like anytime you take some figure from the past and bring him into today's time, like there is a culture shock. There's just a
Yeah.
shock that certain things exist. I saw a video a while back. This dude got out of prison after like 20 years and they went to Walmart and he's just amazed at all the varieties of cereal. It's like when I
That's
was a
crazy.
kid, we just had cornflakes and like Cocoa Puffs, but now
Yeah.
there's like 18 different variations of just Cheerios. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, when someone goes into like a sort of time capsule and just comes out the other side, there's always like crazy stuff that happens. What are some of the crazy things that Van Gogh experiences when he pops up here?
It's a good question. So, like, the one thing that I do kind of explore in the beginning of Artificial One is his like downward spiral, and so a lot of it is already, and I kind of want to play on it a bit as the
Mm,
series goes, and you'll kind of see that as it goes. But Vincent Van Gogh already feels alienated and ostracized by his community. He already feels like a fish out of water.
mm,
And so that kind of I wanted to play around with that theme because okay, he feels like that, even though he isn't, but that's more of a, mental state. Now let's actually physically do that to him.
mm,
Um, and there's a couple conversations between him and other characters that kind of spur off from that. But I mean, yeah, it's the cornflakes times a billion because it's not just different types of cereal. There's different types of humans now, and it's basically AI zombies. That's kind of my
mm,
my my main tagline whenever I'm pitching. I've been at many cons recently. Is
mm.
like Vincent Van Gogh versus AI zombies, and 9 times out of 10 people will be like, "What?" Like that
Right.
sounds cool. I'm like, thank you. But he's fighting zombies, different robots, different drones. At the end of issue 2, which is currently on Kickstarter, we finally reveal or give you a sneak peek at the main baddie.
Mm,
And one of my favorite parts right now is in the middle of issue 2, we kind of take you on a ride that I think issue 1, it goes 0 to 60 real fast,
mm,
and he's experiencing the future, which is just this post-apocalyptic hellscape of the moon's on fire, everything's red, and everything's trying to kill him, and the plants are dead, and everything's just metal, and it's what you would expect from AI to happen.
right.
And then in issue 2, I didn't want you to get comfortable. I don't know if I sent it over to you, but in issue 2, basically midway through again, we shift things again.
Mm,
I'm trying to keep the reader kind of always on their toes, and that's something that's been fun. Is that now we are messing with creature design? So like my
mm,
artist and I are messing with that. So like Vincent Van Gogh's only seen goats and sheep and cats and dogs, and now he's seeing some like interdimensional beings,
mm.
kind of. So it's been a lot of fun, and Vincent Van Gogh's just having a hard time. Okay, he's not doing good.
At all, man. So you brought up the artist, and I've got to say, we were talking about this offline, right? And not to throw shade on anyone or anything, right? But one of the drawbacks to truly independent comics and just kind of, you know, supporting things on Kickstarter is a lot of times the art is lacking. And
Hmm.
I don't think people realize like just how much work goes into, the truly indie comics, right? You don't have an editor that's like, oh, this guy would be good for that idea. Like you're
Right,
sourcing all this stuff yourself and you've got to fund it, right? And so, you might only be able to afford like a super beginner
for
artist
sure.
or the artist is great but everybody's working full-time jobs, and so you're either going to get a book that's going to take forever to come out, or
Yep.
we're going to kind of rush some areas just to get the book to print. And but the art suffers because of
Right.
it. But that is not the case with Artificial. So let's talk about the artist on this book.
Yeah. So like you said, you have to kind of source it yourself. And when I wrote this whole comic, I had the first issue done on paper. I was very happy with the first draft. I think I only went through one extra iteration, mainly because I knew exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It was very clear. It wasn't like, should this happen or should that? No, issue 1 was what I wanted.
right.
Same with issue 2, technically. I'm very happy with how that turned out. But because I knew exactly what I wanted, I was able to kind of source my artists in a way to where I knew exactly what kind of art style I wanted. And it wasn't necessarily something that I could put my finger on, though. Like I couldn't name it. I couldn't be like this person's art style or something similar or the equivalent. It was
Mm,
just like when I see it, I will know that that is the art style I want, which
right.
was kind of fun because at that point you're almost just Easter egg hunting. You're just scrolling. You're like, okay, I like that. Okay, okay, no, that's not it. And you're just kind of doing that for a while. And then I finally landed on some guy's page on Behance, which I don't know how
Mm,
many people are familiar with that, but it's Adobe's platform. I don't know how often people get jobs off Behance, but from what I've understood, not a ton. So it was just another portal I was using. I was using everything, Instagram, ArtStation.
right.
I find this guy named Gabriel Fonseca out of Brazil. He's in his early 20s, super young, fresh. I loved his art style. He had like some really unique takes on Spider-Man, which I think maybe was my initial draw because, that was always my favorite character as a kid.
Mm,
And so I reached out to him, and we had just a very brief discussion about the main idea, and he said he was down. And so then we had a meeting, and we discorded, and we just kind of hit it off. He's very personable. He's very fun. He's very knowledgeable, extremely knowledgeable about comics,
mm,
about cinema, about pop culture, to the point where, it just made things extremely easy. Now,
mm,
I was not expecting him. A lot of people say have looked at his artwork and asked, like, where did I find him?
mm,
And so I would like to say I found a diamond in the rough because he is so good. And I that doesn't do him justice. So good doesn't do him justice. It's
right.
insane how good he is. It's insane how talented he is. Issue 1 was very impressive, and it was his first comic he's ever done. Issue two, he's grown leaps and bounds, and you'll notice that. And I hope it's not too jarring of a difference, because it is a bit of a jarring difference, but it's just because he grew. He's become a much better artist from already being an incredible artist. And then that said, my partner John just hired him to write a story, a one shot for him, and I've seen the inks of that, and we were sitting there at the con the other day, and he's showing me the inks, and I'm like, come on, dude. I was like, it's just so good. I was like, I'm just so proud of him. First off, he
Yeah.
gets super, he gets blushed, he blushes whenever I talk to him or talk about him. But so yeah, he's just a young guy. This is his first comic. He has a very unique style. And as you can see in the comic, it flows very well. It grows. The proportions are interesting. They're not always stagnant. We actually had developed a rule of cool, which we renamed to rule of cool after it being called the rule of Gabriel, where it was just if it looked cool, he would do it,
Right.
including like the lighting isn't coming from over here. Why is it
Mm.
backlit in this way? And he goes, I thought it looked cool. I'm like, I like that. I was like, that's fine with me. I'm totally fine with the rule of cool. So now we kind of do that. We actually had two things come up in issue two where we're like, technically, it's very small, but technically this breaks continuity between two
Mhm.
characters. But I like how this looks. And Gabriel was like, it's the rule of cool. I think we go with it. I'm like, okay. So you'll see stuff like that as we go through the series. It's just as long as it looks good, that's all we care about. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about him, but yeah, he's insanely talented. So I believe he's already testing for Marvel. He's like getting his name out there. His following has exploded since issue one. But thankfully he's still, on board for Artificial. He's in
Right.
love with it. He's having so much fun with the project, and so am I. And yeah, so we're just gonna keep rocking with him.
That is crazy, man. Like, so I didn't realize it was his first comics. Like, I'm
First one.
sitting here
Also,
scrolling.
he lettered it. He issue one,
Mhm.
he inked it, colored it, and lettered it. So the entirety of issue one is Gabriel Fonseca, first time artist. And it all became because he did. Sorry to cut you off, but like I love this story. He basically said, I'll ink it. And then I was like, do you want to try and color it? I could try and find a colorist, but you're already here. I was like, you want to try? He said, yeah, I'll try it. Loved the colors he was doing. I was like, perfect. And then we got to the inking stage. I was like, I guess I got to find an inker. I was like, unless Gabriel, you want to try? And he's like, I've never lettered before. And I was like, I know, but here's the thing. You know what looks good. I was like, you are literally a student of comics. I was like, just use the rule of cool, make it interesting, make the speech bubbles alive, and do you. And he lettered it. And issue one turned out fantastic to the point where issue two, he's going to be the official. He letters Artificial.
Yeah.
We found a new colorist, Sergio Martinez out of Mexico, just to relieve some of the workload.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'd have Gabriel doing everything. but yeah, whatever you were about to say, I just wanted to tell that story because it's really cool.
No, that's insane. Like, and I'm looking at the letters. Well, I'm looking at issue two, right? And lucky me, I get to read it now. But
Yep.
it's just what I love is the way that I don't even know how to where he places the letters in perspective, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it's not like I don't know. Again, another thing that you kind of see with indie comics a lot of times is like the lettering will be just like a wall of text, or
yeah.
it'll kind of like there's an image to process and then there's words to also process. And like you either grab one or
Right.
the other, right? Like the even just like the way he colors the dialogue boxes, like it helps you, like it doesn't lose readability at all. Like your eye is drawn where it's supposed to go, but the lettering kind of melts into the story, if that makes any sense at all. Because I
Yeah.
suck at describing art, but
No, no, that was good. I appreciate it. That's kind of that was the vibe we were going for. I told him, much love to letters out there. It is an art style. It for sure is. And I wasn't by any means trying to be like, hey, I mean, these schmucks can do it, so can you, right, Gabriel?
right.
It wasn't like that, but it was something where it's like, I know you're talented. And I know you're so artistic and so knowledgeable about comics that you could letter. I guarantee it.
Right.
And not only could you letter, you could do it in a way that most letterers wouldn't because you're not a letterer. You're just an artist.
Right.
And I think that's the result we got, which was exactly the result I wanted, which was amazing. I was so happy with how it turned out. And also the benefit there is, I don't know how other people view this, but sometimes, like you said, you'll get an artist, an inker, who will ink your page. They'll have the script, they'll ink everything. And then once it gets to the letter, he goes, I don't really have much space for this entire, like, like speech that's supposed to happen right here.
Right.
And so that was one of the major benefits was having Gabriel be able to just be like, he knew where the speech bubbles had to be. So he planned the entire art style around it. So everything just kind of melts together, like you said. I like how you described it.
Well, thanks. I had to bring it up on the screen for those who are watching on YouTube, because I thought I was spoiling something, but then I realized it's right here on the promo page. So here we are.
I didn't want to. I love this is probably one of my favorite pages from the entire second issue, but I just wanted to show it off just right in the beginning. So there you go.
It is awesome. First of all, we've got your man like smashed up against the glass here. But then you see this sphere. But look at how the lettering is placed in space. Like you see how like the what the is like in the sphere, and then the oof is like on the other side of this glass. Like it's stuff like that. That's just like it just adds to the experience. Like just being able to place the letters in space. And I guess that's something that like any letterer can do, but you get the advantage of being the series artist, having access to all the layers. So being able to throw something
Exactly.
into the background or even in like medium, like look at this. This is awesome. And even like the tail doesn't break the panel box. So it comes from in there, but
Yeah.
it's not in the way. Like, all right, I'm being a nerd.
No, I appreciate it. I love this stuff. And like I said, I wasn't into comics per se, or at least I was so far removed at one point that now I'm nerding out and like discovering these cool little ways to tell the story. And so no, I love talking about it too. All good.
Nice. But yeah, so Artificial issue 2 is up on Kickstarter now. And one thing we haven't touched on is you have two versions of these comics. So you've got the standard edition, which is beautiful to look at, right? Like that's the full colors, like all this effects that we're talking about. Like I think it really pops in the standard edition. But then you've got the propaganda edition. And you tell the audience like what the thought or the meaning behind the propaganda edition was.
So, you might think I'm going to throw shade, but maybe a little shade. But the main reason we started the propaganda edition was issue 1. We wanted to come out with, a variant cover. Everyone has a variant cover, right? That's just standard operating procedure. Now, you're just paying for an extra pretty picture that the writer typically paid some other artist for, who isn't even the interior artist. And then it's just the same interior. So I really didn't want to go that route. And it was just something about, I honestly think it was because we're writing the story about human creativity. The whole point behind it is I want you to feel a connection to the humans creating this story, not some other artist, So I told Gabriel, I want you to do the secondary cover. You are, I'm not hiring out a secondary issue cover. Also, I want to do something different. Everyone says, all right, well, one of the more popular ones is just a black and white version. And that is, it's not easy, but it's easy. You just go in there, you select all your layers, you desaturate, you maybe adjust the levels a little bit, and bam, you have your page. You're done. You just save, export, and now you have a whole different version.
Right.
So we started that process, but as we were doing that, we're going through each page, and Gabriel and I, and this is another thing that I didn't really mention, is that we have weekly meetings for about an hour and a half long, where we go over it, face to face, virtually face to face, which I think definitely benefits this tremendously. But we went through and we picked out things. We're like, what would be really cool is if this was colored. And then we started geeking out on Frank Miller and Sin City stuff. And we're like, let's just do it. Let's try and see what a couple pages would look like with just a little thing colored here, a little thing colored there. And as we did it, we just felt, I mean, so far, it is by far the most popular version of the book at
Mm,
the cons we go to. People will pick up the standard edition and they'll look at it and say the same, the art is incredible. The colors are incredible. Man, this is really nice. They're saying great things about it. And then I always be like, this is the propaganda edition. Pick it up and just let me know what you think. And the second they pop, there's a specific page that it almost always opens to just because of how the fold is.
right.
And the second they open that up, they go, whoa. And I just love that. I pray that'll never get old.
Right.
But 9 times out of 10, they go, I want the propaganda. I'll take the propaganda edition, which is just
Nice.
cool. And it was definitely an afterthought idea. Based on just basically the rule of cool.
Mm,
We had the blueprint of just doing a regular standard black and white variant, but it almost felt too easy, and so we made it harder on ourselves. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. I'm in love with the propaganda edition to the point where I've almost actually told Gabriel, I was like, what if we just only do propaganda edition? Like that's just the new art style for the comic,
right.
and that's it. So we've had that discussion. We're not
Mm,
going to do that, but that's how much we love it. So yeah, you have two different versions on this Kickstarter. If you like the standard edition cover, you can get it. If you like the alternate cover, you can get it. But you're not getting the same interior. Same story, but you're going to find an extra treat. It's going to be a treat for the eyes.
nice. Now, the name Propaganda Edition, where's that come from?
So that, I will be very honest, was it just came after hours and hours and hours of trying to figure out what the heck to call this thing. Uh, so like, but also I'm a big fan of like something being very succinct and
Mm,
being able to describe it in a single word if you could. Like that's why the majority of the comics I've written so far, obviously not all of them have been published yet. They are currently in the works and being artified. That's a word.
mm,
Um, are primarily single word titles. I'm a big fan of that.
yeah.
So it was definitely something where I was like Artificial One Standard Edition. Okay, fair. Artificial One Black and White. No. Sin City version. No. Like I'm going Miller version. No. I'm like trying to figure out what the heck to call this thing.
Mm,
And it kind of just we were having a meeting with Gabriel and I was like, I like the idea of like maybe this has been tweaked and the colors have been removed as to um, deflate the creativity of the reader and
mm,
try almost like so I started playing around with like almost lore for the issue version.
right.
You know what I mean? So like I started calling it the propaganda edition. So like that thing of just trying to spread the false narrative of just like, creativity isn't all that big. Look, you don't even need color, blah, blah, blah.
Um,
It was kind of silly, but I like it now. So now it is the
right.
propaganda edition.
No, no, that's dope. Right. And I think that you can easily make that a part of the pitch, right? Like, well, what if, right? Like the
Yeah.
powers that be decided like the colors were too creative. So let's wash some
Yeah.
of that out. And that's the
I've never
propaganda.
actually said that out loud. I've just that's been my internal lore for the
Right.
reason behind it. So I've just never expressed that. But okay, maybe I'll make that a pitch at some point.
Nice, nice. So let's look at these rewards, right?
Yeah,
And again, I'm doing this for the good people of YouTube. Almost never like share my screen and try to do visual aids, but this deserves it.
please do.
So we've got a bunch of different levels that you can back at, right? So first off, you can get a standard physical book, or you get a physical book, either one, right? You get the standard edition
Hmm.
or the propaganda edition. That'll get you a physical book and a digital PDF for $10, which is a steal, honestly. Um, and then of course you can get both for 20. And then there's all sorts of add-ons, right? You get physical copies of both editions. You can get, what's that, a poster, a t-shirt. You can get your
Hmm.
face in the comic. Like,
Yeah,
nice.
that's the enhanced bundle that we introduced in our Indiegogo Second Chance campaign for Artificial One,
Mm,
mainly because I had a plan for someone to maybe be able to be in issue two. And if you scroll, I want to pitch this real fast if you don't
Mhm.
mind.
Sure.
You will not be some schmuck in the background. You will be uh, justice will be done to your face. Gabriel is so talented that I would like to. I made it one of the example pages for this reason. If you scroll up to the top example pages, you can stop on the propaganda version, but it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. That guy right there
Hmm.
is one of the backers who asked to be in the comic book
Wow.
for the Second Chance campaign. So I don't have his reference photo readily available, but it's
Hmm.
him. Like my Gabriel nailed it, and I guarantee this kid is a teenage kid that his dad reached out to us, wanted him in the comic, sent us some reference photos. I said this is going to make an awesome profile picture for something.
Right.
I was like, I want him to be, you paid money. Let's do it justice. So this is the amount of effort we will put into putting you into the comic. So just try and visualize that. So we already have one person backed it, so we only have 9 other spots for it. I
Mhm.
know it's $200, which does seem like a lot, but you are getting both versions, artificial one, both versions of artificial as well. All of the add-ons, which is a sticker pack, T-shirt, poster, you're getting a bunch of stuff, and then you're also having your face in the next issue. So
Nice. I mean, yeah, commissioning a profile picture would cost you 200.
yeah,
So,
but now you're like part of a story. So
right.
get it.
Man, that is awesome. So, a collector's edition. So it's physical copies of the both editions, and there's the enhanced bundle. And then now, is there like a catch-up pack to get like artificial one?
Not necessarily a catch up like tier. It's just an
Hmm.
add-on. I
Okay.
just made it to where like yeah, if you do collector's bundle or yada yada, you'll get popped right over to the add-on page, and it'll have both physical or digital only versions of artificial, whatever you want.
Nice. Nice. So, really cool rewards. I really can't stress enough how $10 is not a lot for a Kickstarter comic. Like, that's a great price. Um, Man, and now I've got to like grab a physical copy because I need it.
I wanted
So,
to send you one. I just didn't print in time for this, but I did want to send you one.
oh yeah, no worries at all. So, I do want to ask, right, because you've got artificial, right, but you guys have spun up a whole comic company. Tell me a little bit more about BentBox.
Yeah, so BentBox Comics is kind of the love child between myself and John Shell, who we're both creatives. We both just have that thing in you where you need to tell a story, you need to entertain people. It's just always been something we do.
Mm,
We've also been friends since high school. So we've known each other forever now. And it just kind of seemed natural. But uh, similar to my love for a nice succinct title with a single word, I also love branding. I too have a marketing background.
mm,
Even though you wouldn't guess that by how many followers I have on BentBox Comics right now, but we'll get there. I'm trying. So I also have a love for branding, and I didn't want to just put Chris O'Hara author and then make a comic book.
mm,
And then I also didn't want to pitch it anywhere. I just did I had a pitch packet already ready for Dark Horse and Image and Mad Cave and I had a bunch ready. And John and I both just said, let's just do the thing,
mm,
Let's just do
mm,
our own thing. If we're gonna be indie, let's be indie. Let's not pitch to a company. Let's just do it. And then maybe we can also start in a way to where we can help other people out. So like we're slowly ramping up as a publisher. We actually recently published a gentleman from Scotland's comic called Orium
mm,
that successfully funded on Kickstarter as well and is available on our website. Um, so it's a really cool like sci-fi horror, black and white. It's really cool. That's the main reason why we picked it up. We asked him, was like, "Hey, you want to be part of BentBox?" And to his credit, I love him. He's been on board ever since, like 100% on board.
nice.
To the point where like any profit we do at any Comic Con based on his comic, he's like, put it right back into the company, man. He's like, let it go towards printing or the next comic or whatever. He's like, I don't care. He's like, I'll sell my stuff. And I was like, so he's been amazing. But we want to keep building this brand, and John and I have so many stories that we want to tell, and we want to just have basically a home for them.
Hmm.
And that's kind of just what we ended up building. So, and then we also have massive other ideas. Like, we want to, I don't know if you can see it, but I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh yeah, I can.
maybe.
Comic book
Yeah. Okay.
jam.
Comic book jam. That's one of our big ideas that we're trying to get off the ground. I don't know. You probably play video games, right?
Every now and then.
Every now and then. I don't anymore as much as I used to, man. I'm so busy. But anyway, there used to be a thing called game jams, and people would
Mm,
just show up, programmers, artists, sound designers, and they would build a game in 24 hours, and it would be cool and just indie, and sometimes it would make it big, and because it was such a cool idea, it'd be put on Xbox or mobile phones or whatever. So
mm,
we had that idea. It was like indie comics has that camaraderie, the necessary split into different parts that could be just merged together randomly and maybe
right.
see what happens, almost like a lab experiment. But I've always loved the idea of game jams. I was like, there isn't such a thing as like a comic book jam per se. So we're trying to get that started under the Bent Box. We're trying to like fund one where basically at a Comic Con, request a hall where writers, artists, inkers, like
Mm,
all the people, all the individuals could be teamed up and make a single small comic within 24-hour period or just a day. And then
hmm.
all those will go into an anthology, yearly anthology, and we'd have one a year. So like we have a bunch of really cool ideas we're trying to do. Um, but yeah, that's BentBox. Hopefully you're going to see a lot from us in the future. And to your point, say I do appreciate the kind words and not sounding cocky, but I do believe Artificial is a very well done comic,
Mm,
writing excluded, just art wise.
mm,
So when you think of BentBox, my goal is that you think of high quality indie comics, creator owned, you know, unique stories. That's just what we're trying to do. And so I think we've stepped, we've made a good first step, but it's a long road. So,
for
yep.
sure. Now, with Bent Box, is the goal, I don't know if you even road mapped out this far, but is there a goal to sort of secure wider distribution? Like, is there a world where Bent Box is, an imprint over at Image, or is it the goal to stay truly indie and just increase capacity and kind of bootstrapping?
That so far the goal is pure indie.
Nice.
No sidestep to image or anything with distribution. I mean, the thing is obviously money is very important. I don't know if you knew this, but money's a thing.
Yeah.
And uh like this is just, secret time. To make Artificial 2, it cost me, and a lot of this we've been funding on our own. And another
Mm,
thing we want to do with BentBox Comics is if we present you with a comic idea on Kickstarter, that comic, you should have the faith that that comic is not only 100% done, but it's also
mm,
printed already. Like we have the physical copy. We we know it looks good.
mm,
We are happy with it. Now we present it to you. If you would like it, please back it. I think you'll like it. And
right.
then when that campaign ends, you're going to have it in 30 days ish, depending on shipping. Like it's not going to be a year and then you get a weird surprise. Oh, I forgot about this comic. So like we're doing that with BentBox to where we're taking it very seriously. Our own money is being put into this, obviously, like most people. But like for Artificial 2, I did the math today. Unfortunately, I regret doing it now. But Artificial 2 cost me as the author $6,500 to
Mm,
make based on the artist. And that's because I wanted to pay them very fairly. I wanted to pay them very well. They're insanely talented.
yeah.
I'm only asking for $500 for the Kickstarter.
Mm,
That's mainly because I just want the book to be out.
yeah.
I've already put the money in. It's it's already a physical manifestation. It's already there. I don't want this to be dependent on, not making $6,500 and then it falls through. So my whole thought is I want to get you guys in on a low price point. The book's done. It's ready. It's coming in a month. But after that, it really is dependent on you guys, the fans, and the people who are interested to help me make issue three. I don't know how many more 6,500 investments I have in me before I have to make that back.
Right.
And trust me, issue three is already written. Issue four is half written. I'm in love with the series. I wanted to keep going, but we are pure indie.
Nice.
So $500 is getting you artificial into the world, but $6,500 is getting you artificial three.
Right.
So, please share, please, tell a friend, whatever you can do to help. We all know that every little bit counts.
And at the time of this recording, we got about 3 weeks left on the campaign. It is fully funded. We're looking at quick math. What's this? 160% funded. So
167, yeah, ish. Yeah.
nice. See, quick math.
That
You
was
got
good. That
great
was good.
math. So, but yeah, so we're at about $880 right now. So that just means you're absolutely getting artificial if you back this campaign.
For
Um,
sure.
so do that, right? Back the campaign, secure your copy of Artificial #2. If you're new to Artificial, like I am, once you do back at a physical tier, you can add on issue #1 as well. So get while the getting's good. I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited to see what else is coming from BentBox Comics, assuming enough of us buy this book that we can get more. Now, you did
Yeah.
say you've got your beginning, middle, and end sort of plotted out. How many issues ideally does Artificial run?
So I'll try and make this short because I know we're wrapping up, but this is one of the main reasons why I did not follow through with the pitch to
Mm,
anywhere. Majority of places they request you to have like each issue laid out, the beginning and middle and end of each issue laid out. Basically that way they can follow the series conceptually before they go,
mhm,
yeah, let's throw money at you. I 100% understand that. That said, originally I was planning on around 8 issues,
mm,
split into two different, like, kind of, you know, not chapters, but two different sections where,
mm,
issues 1 through 4 and issues 5 through 8. Um, but it could go longer than that. And that's mainly because the way I write, and I've always been this way, is I know my beginning, middle, and end, and I have historically, and I think I always will, allow myself to just do what the story does.
mm,
That's how I write. So, like, for instance, issue three. This is a quick little spoiler alert for issue three. Um, the group gets powers, and they have to figure out how to use those powers. And so they decide to go. They're taking on a little hunting trip. So that wasn't necessarily in the game plan,
mm,
but as I was writing the story, it felt natural to go that route. It felt like a really cool environment to put our characters in. It led to more character development for ancillary characters, little secondary guys here and there, so I can bring those in and flesh out little relationships. And so that's what I mean by 8 was the original, but now issue three, we're way behind the 8 ball when it comes to what I was originally planning for issue three.
mm,
So it could be 12
mm,
to really get the story where I want it to go. But guaranteed it's not going to be rushed. Uh, I'm just going to tell the story that's being told. It almost sounds pompous to be like, I'm letting the story tell itself through me. It's kind of how it's happening though, just
mm.
because I just basically role play my stories. This is what would happen. This would be cool to happen. Then the rule of cool overrides, and now we have issue three going on a hunting trip. So that's just how the story's going to go. I do have a concrete idea. So under 12 is my goal.
Okay.
But right there, we've already discussed it. That's a lot of
Listen,
money.
uh,
And that's a lot of support needed from fans. And I do think you're gonna like it. So check it out.
yeah, man, we got to do it because 12 issues to make a nice, thick, complete collection or even a cool hardcover, right?
That's
Which
the
would
goal.
also take more money
A lot
and
of money.
more, a
Yeah.
lot of money and
Yeah.
a lot of support. But this art deserves it. I can tell you guys that much. And I mean, you saw the preview just on the screen. Like I said, I've got issues 1 and 2 here on my iPad. I need to grab them physically because this art just deserves a space, like a physical space in your house. But even beyond that, right? It's an awesome project. So congratulations for even, bringing it out into the world, getting to see your little baby out in other people's
Yeah.
hands, but I'm excited for what's to come. I will make sure that I leave the links to the Kickstarter in the description of this video, as well as the show notes if you're listening on audio streaming platforms. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And Chris, thank you. For more information from you, where can they find you?
So we got lucky. We're BentBox Comics on every platform, everywhere. So
Nice.
you want to look us up on Twitter, Instagram, Reels, or not Reels, but like TikTok,
Hmm.
Threads, all BentBox Comics. At BentBox Comics will get you everywhere. And then for some of our digital stuff, we've been throwing a lot of it on our website, bentboxcomics.com. Otherwise, if you like some of the reader platforms like Global Comics, we've been really enjoying working with them.
Hmm.
We're on Global Comics. If you want to kind of keep building your library there, you can get our titles there.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Well, once again, I'll leave links to all of those platforms here in the show notes down below. Chris, thank you again for your time and congratulations on a successful campaign.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate the time. It's been fun. Thanks.
No problem at all. And that's it for episode 30 of Comics Are Dope, the podcast. Huge thanks to Chris for taking the time to speak with us. Definitely go back Artificial issue number 2 on Kickstarter. And I gotta say, I'm super excited, super excited about that Dynamite Kickstarter. So if you are as big a Darkwing Duck fan as I am, go to comicsaredope.com/darkwing to get your fix. And I'll see y'all in another episode real soon. Till then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.